Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to Call Me Mr. Broadstreet. For this week's review, I'm going to review Wildlife by Paul McCartney and Wings, or Wings. It's the first Wings album. First of all, if you enjoy the channel, please make sure to hit that bell, give a thumbs up, and subscribe. So this week, with the album, you would always think that I rank things either essential or good to great, but that's not always the case. So as a little reminder, I have my album ranking system. So we have the essential albums, which is basically a perfect or very near perfect album. Good to great, which would be a B or a B plus. Pick up next and pick up last as the categories. When I do album reviews for Paul, I am counting things with new tracks on them. So to give an example, Give My Regards to Broadstreet has 3 new tracks. I count that as part of the canon. Run Devil Run, which was a mostly 50s cover album that Paul did in 1999, has 3 new tracks. I will count that as part of the canon when I do get to those reviews. So to paraphrase my stepmom, well, artists don't always produce gold. Though produce wasn't quite the word used, but I'll let you fill in your imagination on that one. This album, I've never really warmed to. It's never really gelled with me or clicked with me. I've tried over years, and this is not only a pick-up last album. I think among any other of Paul's albums that I may put in as pick-up last, this is going to be pick-up last out of the pick-up last. In other words, to put it a little bit simpler, I think this is Paul's weakest album of his entire career. Not to say there aren't some enjoyable moments, but bar none, weakest album, without question, for me. A lot of times you'll read old reviews with rock critics, and you'll go, well, yeah, but that was, a critic back in the 70s or 80s, and I don't know if I'd necessarily agree with them or take everything they say as gospel. But in this case, my assessment and the critics' assessments happen to agree. So, again, weakest album. If I haven't said it enough, the weakest album of Paul's career, bar none. There we go. Okay, well, some of the highlights, lowlights, whatever you want to call it. First of all, Wildlife was released in December 1971. So this is coming on the heels of McCartney, the first album released in 1970, and Ram, released earlier in 1971. So you've got 2 pretty good albums. I think this is the 3rd album slump. A lot of artists, they get the sophomore slump as a solo artist. This is the 3rd album where, yeah, it just doesn't gel for me. So one of the first things was it was recorded probably a little over a week, maybe 2 weeks. They wanted to capture an immediate sound, but for someone like Paul, to just record and rush record something and release it as a viable commercial product doesn't really work, in my opinion. It doesn't play to his strengths as a songwriter, as an artist. In a lot of cases, when I'll hear a song off of an album, or if it's a song I may not enjoy of his, I like to joke to myself, if I was an engineer, I'd go, okay, that's a nice demo, but when are we going to get to the real song? So there we go. Although, surprisingly, this did chart at number 10 in the US and went gold, so it's got that going for it. Again, I think that's spillover from the goodwill of the previous 2 albums. UK charts number 11, again, Wings' first album. So some of the tracks, Mumbo, he starts off with Take It, Tony. No, erase it, Tony, erase it. It's a lot of scat singing, Little Richard style, good piano work. It has good organ playing, but other than that, not a heck of a lot to recommend. Bip Bop, well, not the entirety of the lyrics, but for the most part, the lyrics, and I'm not kidding, I'm not making this up, bip bop, bip bop bop, bip bop, bam. I mean, yeah, it would have worked better as an instrumental again. Lyrics just aren't that inspiring to me. They never have been. I take it with a grain of salt, but even then, it's not really playing to his strengths, and it's okay to make a silly song, There's nothing wrong with silly love songs. Not at all, but it just not great lyrics, doesn't play to his strengths. Love is Strange. It's a cover of a 1950s song. This is the first real good track. It's kind of a reggae-ish cover. You hear a lot of good Paul and Linda melody on it with the vocals. So again, good song, but it loses points because, again, it's a cover version. It's a cover song. It's not one of Paul's originals. We get to the track Wildlife. Again, Wildlife, very ecologically minded. This is the second good track, in my opinion. There was great singing. It's very topical, caring for our planet. Really good rocking song. I think easily Love is Strange, Wildlife, probably the two highlights of the album, the two major highlights in my view. Paul singing, amazing. I think if more of the album had this kind of cohesion and energy to it, you'd have something. Next song, Some People Never Know. It's pleasant enough. There's some good harmonies. It goes on for about 6.5 minutes. I think about 2 minutes too long. I think, and it's not the last song of Paul's to kind of do that. But again, it's just, they could have edited it by 2 minutes, 2 minutes and 15 seconds, and still kind of gotten the point across, in my view. So that's kind of, just according to my notes, to my re-listening of the album, as it were. Track number 6, I Am Your Singer. I Am Your Singer, again, nice melody. There's kind of some demo versions that are out there that are better, kind of the one on Wingspan, a little bit simpler. Even on the archive set, which, hey, I even still bought the archive set for this album. So, go figure. I mean, I may even do this one day with some of the bonus tracks for the archive set, put them on the album proper. You have a much stronger album, in my opinion. This... I don't know if I may have heard this in another review at some point or somewhere along the line, but I mean, I Am Your Singer feels a little bit like a Partridge Family B-side, in my opinion. Sorry to be so harsh, but it is what it is, Bip Bop, line instrumental, short instrumental. Again, Bip Bop just works better as an instrumental than an actual lyrical song, in my view. We get to Tomorrow. It's a nice melody, kind of one of the more highlights, maybe the third strongest track. This could have really gone on McCartney or Ram, in my opinion. I think it has that kind of feel to it. Some very nice melodies, very nice singing to it. So again, We Both Abandoned Sorrow, just heading into tomorrow, looking forward to tomorrow. So, I mean, some really nice piano work on this. I do enjoy this one out of the tracks. Track number 9, Dear Friend. It's a heartfelt reaching out to John Lennon, but the execution of the singing really doesn't work for me. A little bit of a backstory to this. Dear Friend is in response to a song that John did on his Imagine album from the same year, from 1971, called How Do You Sleep? Kind of a very pointed feud at the time, very early 70s. You gotta remember the Beatles had just broken up. So maybe some kind of bad feelings between John and Paul. John feels that Paul made some digs at both John and Yoko on the Ram album. That Paul and Linda were kind of making some subtle, or not so subtle digs towards both John and Yoko with the Ram album, as I just said. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but I mean, I think a lot went into, How Do You Sleep, which actually is a good song. I mean, even though it's attacking Paul, I mean, it is a damn good song. But I'll review that when I get to the Imagine album. Again, Dear Friend, so it's kind of Paul offering an olive branch. Spoiler alert, Paul and John did mend fences during the 70s, especially as the 70s wore on, the mid-70s. They all did. All the solo Beatles probably had some really complicated feelings after the breakup. But again, they mended fences. Things were good. They would all be in contact with each other, see each other, send postcards and the like. So again, it's not like, as I've said before, it's not like they broke up and never saw each other again. They would go visiting, often encouraging each other with their various solo projects. But at this point, the relationship wasn't quite there between John and Paul. Mumbo Link, even as I'm mumbling, Mumbo Link instrumental on the CD version. Again, great guitar, but it's only 45 seconds long. So I'm going to show you the album cover, which I realized I should have done at the beginning of the interview, but hey, it's live, I wanted to kind of get my points out. So, album cover, there we go. It's Wings Wildlife, it's Paul, you got Paul there, Linda, Denny Lane, who was the only consistent member of Wings from 1971 to 1979. That should be Denny Seiwell, I believe. Let's see here. God, I'm slipping up on my own Wings history. How about that? But pretty sure that's Denny Seiwell on drums. And this is the 1987 version, so on the back, it does have a couple bonus tracks. I'm really going to kind of put them more with the appropriate album, which would be Red Rose Speedway, which I will get to, again in a future review. But like I said again, this is just, it's the weakest album. They're not always geniuses. They don't always produce gold. I think that's the bottom line. And that's any artist, whether it's the Beatles, whether it's the Rolling Stones. Again, Charlie, rest in peace, as he just, passed during this week. Any band, any artist, they're not going to always produce gold. They're not always going to produce works of genius. But even in moments like this, even with Paul's weakest album, I can hear some of the Wings melodies, obviously. There's at least a couple tracks I can enjoy, and I can enjoy them off of any weak album. But even though he's my favorite solo artist, one of my favorite artists of all time, you don't get a free pass. It doesn't happen. If your work is not really up to par, and what I mean by up to par is kind of comparable to maybe other works you released around the time, or, even stuff way after the Beatles. I'm not one of these people who's ever going to compare everything to Band on the Run, which, quite frankly, there's a whole bunch of albums I listen to more frequently than that one. But again, if it's just not up to what I think your standards could be on some level, it's just not going to gel. And in this case, it really doesn't. It doesn't gel for me. Who knows? I may approach it again. I try to approach it with an open mind. Maybe there'll be a time I could enjoy the album, but, to be honest, over many years I've tried. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't do it for me. So to kind of wrap things up, starting in September, I hope to be posting on Saturdays on a more consistent schedule. So I want to kind of announce that first. Also, my next post will be after Labor Day weekend. So I believe Saturday the 3rd is during Labor Day weekend. I won't be posting that weekend, but the following weekend, the following Saturday, and each Saturday afterwards, I will be posting my videos of my content. So I hope you enjoyed the review. Leave some comments below if you agree, or hey, if you disagree. Is there something I'm missing on the album? I don't think I am. It's all highly subjective. It's my view. It's my opinion. But, if there's something I'm overlooking, or what are your memories of the album? Anything along those lines, feel free to comment. So again, just thank you all for listening. I'll just let you know the next review that I do end up doing. I'll go back to John. My next review will be his 1971 Imagine. During this year, between Wildlife and Imagine, I think Imagine's going to rank just a little bit higher. I have the feeling. Anyways, everybody, please be safe out there. I hope those in the U.S. that celebrate the Labor Day weekend, please be safe. And I'll see everybody back on the 11th next month. Thank you so much.